Okay, so we're back. There's about 10 more minutes until I can take the dough out of the fridge. It's been there obviously for 50 minutes because I've been letting it rest for an hour. So I decided to continue with cheap puff pastry part 2, which is the outer crust sort of layer that I made to prevent the butter from leaking out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut the dough in half, and then half the dough I'm gonna bake without the outer crust, and then the other half I'm gonna bake with the outer crust. So let's make that outer crust. In the old recipe, I used 85 grams of flour, but it said it was 1 cup. From what I can remember, I believe I scooped the flour into the cup measure and just leveled it so that it wasn't like a packed cup of flour. So let's see if that still stands. The scale is zeroed, so there's that. Oh, okay, so that is negligible. It's not even a gram. Okay, so let's go like this, so you guys can see, so that it gets in all the crevices. And there's some extra that went in the bowl, so I'm gonna just go like that, level it off, pour this out because back into the container. Okay, and then pour it in, see how much. So how did I get to 85 grams? Because this is at 142 already, so let's see what I did there. Maybe, I remember something also that I used to do is that I used to shake the flour container, like so, because you're not really supposed to scoop directly out of the flour container, but I remember being lazy and just shaking it around to loosen it all up. So we're zeroed out, and let's try this again. Okay, so again, I just scooped some out. I'm gonna try to level it off, scoop the rest out in there. 145. So where I got 85 grams from, I do not know. But I did pour it out of the cup in the video, so that's really weird. Maybe it was a scant cup, perhaps? Or maybe I could have halved the recipe, and originally it was 1 cup. I'm gonna have to look back on that. But for this one, actually, I will half the recipe, just because looking at my previous video, it looked like I had a lot of extra dough, and I'm really trying not to waste food right now. So I'm gonna half the recipe. It says 145 grams. Not sure if you can see that, but it's 145, so I'm just gonna keep it facing this way so you can see that I'm gonna take out half, do a little, whoa, flour all over my shirt. We're gonna do a little math. 145 divided by 2 is 72-ish. So I'm gonna use 72 grams of flour. Can someone tell me if I'm there yet? There we go. Okay. So, right, times 2 is 144. 143. Okay. So we'll use 72 grams. That's the only way that I think I got to that amount of flour, and I might have just, instead of writing half a cup of flour, I wrote 1 cup. We shall see. So right now, modified recipe, 72 grams. Okay, so next is the water. Okay, a pinch of salt. Pinch of salt. And now it says a half a cup to 2/3 of a cup of water, or 100 mils to 150. So that's like a really big difference. As you saw in the first part of this puff pastry video, I used more flour than I had in my original recipe. You just kind of have to base your measurements off of what the temperature is like, what the climate is like, everything like that. So I'm gonna go with the lower end of water, which is 100 milliliters. I do have 150 here in this measuring cup. So we'll go from there. Okie dokie. So I'm gonna make a well, tear this, and we'll do 100 mils, hopefully I'll land on it. I'm looking through the glass and upside down. That's 47. Seems like a lot to me. Ooh, okay, we're really close. So I'm gonna stop there, because if I need to add more, I can always add more. So it's at 97 grams of water right now, so I'm gonna make that into a dough. It looks like a lot, like it looks like I made pancake batter. Okay, so I'm definitely gonna need the extra 72 grams of flour, most likely, because this is a pancake batter. So 85 grams, not sure where you came from. Let's try 72 more grams of flour. 76, 70, 72, sure. Or well, we'll go for 73 because that was 145. So now, much more dough-like already. Pretty hydrated still. Definitely not gonna go to 150 grams of water. Yeah, this should be good. So when I touch it, it is rather sticky. It feels well hydrated. But when I knead it out, I'll measure some more flour to see how much I use, and then we'll go from there. So it is quite sticky. I'm gonna use my bench scraper here. So I'll use bench scrapey, just to get it incorporated. Okay. It's looking pretty shaggy, which is good. I'm gonna clean the bowl, get all the flour off, and then I'm gonna turn it out onto a work surface with flour on it. Okay, so it's looking kind of tacky still, but I can hold it. Some parts are more hydrated than the others, but I'm gonna get some flour in this measuring cup. I'm gonna say I'm gonna need probably judging by that, probably about 25 to 30 more grams of flour. 29, and then this extra floof here from before, that's probably a gram, so let's leave it at that. So we'll scoot that over. Okay, so this is an additional 30 grams that I am using just to flour the work surface and make sure it doesn't stick to my hands like it is currently. So I'm gonna cover it with flour. It is kind of lumpy, so I'm just gonna knead this until it has some gluten structure, that it's not like a crumbly biscuit dough, and that it's not like lumpy, because right now it is not an even texture. But I'm sure as I knead it, it will become more smooth. So yeah, it's already becoming more smooth. So I should have kept this on the scale so we could see how much flour I used. So far I've used 6 grams of flour, or 7 grams, it just changed. 7 grams of flour. It's switching, let's say 6.5, because it's switching in between the two. So I'm gonna use a little bit more, just because it is still sticky on my palm. Okay, that's better. Okay, so I don't think I'm gonna add any more. I'm just gonna use up whatever's on the table, kind of just rolling around. So this recipe I ended up just making up myself, because I was like, well, the basics of a dough is just water and salt and flour. And so it's like, I sort of thought it probably isn't that hard to make like a top crust. And we'll see if it ends up working out. So this is looking pretty good. It is a bit sticky. Pretty good. Doesn't stick to my fingers or the table all that much. I have a feeling I kind of want to add a little bit more flour. Let's add a little bit. So I'm gonna bring it down to 20, which means that I added an extra 10 grams on top of the 145 grams of flour that I already used. So, yeah, that feels better. So you really don't need a lot. Like, the increments are really small. Like, a lot of the time I say, like, you know, add 1 tablespoon at a time, but that could be a lot. You know, 15, that's like in general. tablespoon is like 15 milliliters or 15 grams, I think. That's a lot. That's a lot of flour, so we only needed 10. So just had to sprinkle at a time unless it's like a super sensitive recipe. Yeah, this is feeling much better. It's not sticking to the heel of my palm as much. Like, comes off pretty clean. Yeah, that's good. So now I'm gonna roll it to 1/4 of an inch thick and then grab my dough, wrap half of it in this, and then the other half we're just gonna roll out and use without a top crust on it. Or an overcrust, I don't know what you would call this, I just made it up myself. So I'm gonna roll this out into, I think about 1/4 inch thick is how I did it in my last one. And then we'll go from there. I am using just a little flour to dust the surface. I wouldn't say that this is used to incorporate into the dough, it's just used to prevent sticking, so I'm not gonna put that in my calculations if I do rewrite this recipe. Not sure that I will, but yeah, so we'll let this chill for a little bit, as in like hang out. I'm gonna get my other dough and we're gonna roll it out and do some other things, so let's do that. Okay, so I took the dough out of the fridge. It is quite cold. I can make indents on it, which is a good sign. I still have a remaining of 20 grams of flour that I might use just to roll out everything. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take half the dough, use the top crust that we just made, and the other half I will bake plain. So this is 652 grams. I will put this in here for now. Okay, actually I should probably roll that out first, but so 652 divided by 2, that's 326, right? Okay, that's fine. Math check me. What did I just say? 326? Yeah, okay. 326, we're gonna cut it in half. Okay. 324, that's good enough for me. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so so this dough, I'm gonna put back into the fridge while I'm working with the top crust one. I'm gonna just cover it so that it doesn't get all greasy. So next what I'm gonna do is just lightly flour, whoa, that was way too much. Slightly flour my work surface, like this. Then flour the top. Actually, we'll do the chocolate first. So we'll do this one first, and then we'll roll it out to that, about 1/4 of an inch, a square. So okay, so the dough is resisting a little bit. Like every time I pick it up, it kind of just goes back into its original shape. So I'm going to just set it aside for now and let it hang out while I roll out the pastry dough. So it's about the size I needed anyway. So I can't remember if I just rolled this out or if I left it like this and then stuck it in the little package and then rolled it. So I'm gonna watch my old video, see what I did. Okay, so what it looks like is that this was a little bit, oh God, that feels so nice. It's like Play-Doh. So I flattened it just a bit, just so that it wasn't so tall. Choop, choop. So nice, what a nice texture, oh my God. It is so soft. Okay, let's stop playing with that. All right, then I put the package in the top crust. I probably should have moved that over first. So what I did in my last video is I took it here and I just wrapped it like this, but what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna do it like the croissant style, like where you put like a butter package. I don't know if that's better, but, or like if I should just do it. I don't know, I haven't decided yet. Because I'm like, what wastes less? Like, I think this method probably wastes less. but this method has better coverage. So maybe I think they're the same. Yeah, okay. So in that case, I'm just gonna do it like I did in my old video. Why put too many variables? Then I'm gonna seal this up, which I just pinched together the seam. Okay. Very cool. Okay. Pinch, pinch, and pinch. All right, okay, next I'm going to cut the extra. Pinch that. I'm gonna cut off the excess here. Just gonna make sure that it's nice and flush with the dough. Then cut off this extra bit. Seal it to make sure nothing comes out. Okay. This guy too. Flush against it. And then do one of these numbers. Great. Pinch. Okay, so that's pretty good. I'm gonna reflour my service. I can feel that the dough is getting kind of soft inside, so I'm gonna have to work rather quickly. Also, my camera is overheating, so I'm gonna have to work really fast. I hope that my camera does not run out of battery or explode. So I will try to work as quickly as possible here so that you guys can see exactly how it goes down. And hopefully nothing, bad will happen. Okay. Okay, so I do see some air bubbles, which I'm gonna ignore and pretend don't exist. I will probably let this rest for a little while before I move on to the next step of filling, just because it is getting quite resistant. It looks pretty good and it feels pretty good. So I might actually just leave it in this square shape, and then I'll let it rest probably for 10 minutes while I roll out the other dough. And then I will continue to roll it out to the proper thickness and then fill them. So, and cut and fill them rather. So I'll leave it like this. I'm going to put it on. Actually, I'm gonna put it on the baking tray because that seems like a good idea, right? Cool, now I'm gonna refrigerate this while I work with the other dough. Lo and behold, my camera did end up overheating, so I've waited about 5 more minutes. I put this in the fridge for about 5 more minutes. And now we're just gonna work as quickly as possible to roll out this dough. This one does not have the top crust, it's just gonna be regular old dough. And then I'm gonna fill it. I have some fixins over here, which I'll get to after I rinse my hands. So just scoot those over. Okay. Ugh, so nice. This is definitely satisfying. So now I'm gonna roll this out to about 1/4 inch thick so that we can fill it and cut it. Cut it and fill it? Yeah, cut it and fill it. I don't actually remember how to fold or cut any of these, so we'll just do our best with what we remember. Kind of remember it from the video. I'm a little bit too lazy to check it again. So, you know, we're just gonna do our best, guys. That's all you ever can do. Just show up, do your best, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. That's it. Okay. Thought this was a puff pastry making recipe, not a mindfulness session. If you heard that in the background, that was just my dog settling on his beanbag chair because he has a beanbag chair. Okay, so this is looking pretty all right. I'm just gonna scoot some extra flour down here. I have a ruler. I got inch. I'd say that's about less than 1/4. That's like 1/8 of an inch thick, so. Did I say okay, did I say 1/4 inch? Roll out the dough to a large rectangle. but no measurements on how thin that rectangle should be. So let's see. Okay, so in my last video I was using these green bands around my red rolling pin, and these are 2 millimeters. 2 millimeters. 2 millimeters, which is like an eighth of an inch? An eighth of an inch thick? Yeah. So that's just about this. Yep. That's an eighth of an inch. This is an eighth of an inch. Okay, so we don't need to do anything else. We rolled it out, okay. Then I think I can cut it and do fun things with it. So let's see what that is, and then we'll go from there. Oven should be preheated to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh, I should do that, yeah. Don't forget to exit. Okay, so I'm preheating my oven to 400 degrees. My dough with the top crust is in the refrigerator right now. It's been in there for probably about 10 minutes now. I was rewatching my old video because even though it's really short, my attention span just couldn't make it. So I had to rewatch it like a bunch of times while I therapeutically rolled out this dough to a nicer looking rectangle. Okay, so this is the dough without the top crust on it. I'm gonna cut it into squares, and then I'm gonna fill it with all the goodies that I have prepared. Okay, so I'm gonna cut this down the middle. To know how to do this. Okay, and then I'm probably gonna cut it into, it looks like thirds probably would be the best. So here and here, I guess. That's pretty legit, sure. Okay, now I did some fun shapes in my old video, so I'm gonna try to replicate that today, and we shall see how it goes. So the first one was kind of like a diamond, and I think it just goes like this. I know you may have noticed that earlier in the video I was like, oh, I don't want to get a metal bench scraper because like it'll scratch my table, and then you're like, wow, Kristin, you're using a knife on your table, like doesn't that defeat the purpose? Well, actually, when I use a knife, it's fine because it doesn't actually like cut through, whereas I feel like if I used a bench scraper, I'm like using it quite violently to try to scrape off flour or whatever, so I feel like it would just take off the top layer of the table. I don't know, but please don't at me about my decision making in my kitchen. This is my home kitchen after all, so I'm sure that if I were in a commercial kitchen, I'd be more particular about my tools and all that stuff, but like it's just me eating this, and so like it's fine. So I have this peach jam peach. It is peach apricot maple butter spread. It smells delicious. It smells mostly like apricots. It's locally made in Gatineau, and it's delicious. So I'm just gonna use some of this. Sorry, did I make your ears bleed? Okay, so I'm just gonna put a dollop in the middle, and then I'm not gonna fill it too much because I don't know, maybe I don't want jam to leak. And I think I went like, oh yeah, it was like this. Oops. And like this. Oh, I probably should have done this before I filled it with jam. Yeah, probably would have been a better idea. But alas, here we are. Okay, so that's one. And then I'm just gonna go down the line and fill them all. I have cheese and apples because I thought that would be nice. And then I have local honey, which is also very delicious. Okay, my battery just died. I have a really old camera, guys. Like, you know, it is what it is. So I do have 3 batteries for this particular camera because I know that the battery life isn't so great, and like it's so old. So my camera is so old that the batteries actually just like lose charge even if I'm not using my camera. So yeah, that's just how it is. So I'm gonna try to make the pinwheel looking one, and I think I want to put cheese in this one. I mean, I'm gonna most likely alternate and make all sorts of different types. I don't know how I'm gonna take these off of the table because they're pretty sticky. Oh, my oven has preheated. but you know, we're just gonna do our best. So I'm gonna keep going, and yeah, I'll probably cut this, and then when we come back, they'll all be full. Right now. So we're back. Now I'm just gonna transfer, these are all filled. Now I'm just gonna transfer them to the parchment lined baking sheet. Hopefully they'll come off pretty easily. Did I work fast enough? Probably not, but they're not, I was gonna say they're not terribly stuck, but looky here. Oh, there we go. That was a close one. Okay. So since these are pretty sticky, okay, that one was scary. I'm gonna shove this back in the fridge while I work with the dough with the top crust, and then we're gonna bake them. So in the fridge they go. Oh, that was a very satisfying crunch.